Michael's hands trembled as he gripped the steering wheel, staring at the notification that would end everything. One more complaint, one more bad rating. After 23 years of playing by the rules, working every honest job he could find, this is how it would end. Deactivated, jobless, unable to pay for the one thing that mattered most, his daughter's medication. But this night, his final shift would prove that sometimes the worst moments of our lives are just the universe setting up the most unexpected plot twist. Sometimes, the person you're most afraid of becomes the one who saves you.
Quick pause. Before we continue, tell us, where in the world are you watching from? If you're enjoying these stories, make sure to hit subscribe, because tomorrow's episode is absolutely mind-blowing. The clock on Michael's dashboard read 10:47 p.m. when everything started falling apart. He sat in his 10-year-old Honda Civic in the parking lot of a closed gas station, watching the Uber app with the kind of desperation that makes your chest tight. His rating stared back at him, 4.2 stars. In the algorithm's cold judgment, he was almost worthless. 45 years old, and this is what he'd been reduced to: a number, a rating, a commodity that was about to expire. Michael remembered when he'd started driving for Uber 3 years ago after the factory closure. He'd been proud, actually, proud that he'd found a way to keep going, to keep providing for Emma, his daughter, his everything. 16 years old and fighting leukemia like a warrior, while he fought rush-hour traffic and entitled passengers who treated him like furniture. The notification had come 2 hours earlier. Your account is at risk. Improve your rating to 4.5 within your next 10 rides or face deactivation. 10 rides. He'd managed 7 so far tonight, all 5-star ratings miraculously. 3 more to go. 3 perfect rides stood between him and complete financial ruin. Between Emma's treatment continuing or having to make phone calls he couldn't bear to imagine. His phone buzzed. A ride request. Michael's heart jumped. He accepted it immediately, not even looking at the details first. Then he saw the pickup location, Riverside Avenue, the wealthy neighborhood on the east side. Drop-off, Pinewood Motel, 40 minutes away. Something felt off about it already. Rich neighborhoods to cheap motels usually meant trouble in Michael's experience. But he couldn't afford to be picky. Not tonight. Not with Emma's medication running out in 4 days and his bank account showing $247. Michael started the engine and headed toward Riverside Avenue. The neighborhood was exactly as he remembered. Massive houses with manicured lawns, luxury cars and driveways, the kind of zip code where people didn't usually need Uber. Streetlights cast long shadows through oak trees that probably had been there longer than Michael had been alive. He pulled up to the address, a 2-story colonial with all the lights off except for a dim glow from an upstairs window. Michael checked his phone. The passenger's name was David. No profile picture, which always made Michael nervous. 5-star rating as a passenger, though. 43 total rides. At least he wasn't completely new to the system. Michael waited, watching the front door. He'd learned to observe everything on these rides. The way passengers walked, what they carried, how they acted in those first few seconds. It told you what kind of ride it would be. The front door opened, and a man emerged, mid-30s, Michael guessed. White button-down shirt, dress pants, dark hair neatly combed. He moved quickly, almost frantically, carrying a plastic shopping bag that he held carefully away from his body. In the glow of the porch light, Michael caught a glimpse of something dark on the bag. A stain. Michael's stomach tightened. The man, David, looked over his shoulder twice before reaching the car, like he was checking if anyone was watching. When he opened the back door, Michael saw his face clearly for the first time. Pale. Sweating. Eyes wide with something that looked like barely controlled panic. "David?" Michael asked, trying to sound casual. Yes, that's me. Let's go, please." David's voice was tight, strained. As David settled into the back seat, Michael caught the smell. Metallic, coppery. He'd smelled it before, years ago when he'd worked at a meat processing plant for 6 months. Blood. That was definitely blood. Michael's mind raced as he pulled away from the curb. He glanced in the rearview mirror. David was staring at his phone, scrolling frantically, his leg bouncing up and down. The plastic bag sat next to him, and yes, those were definitely dark red stains seeping through the white plastic. Stay calm, Michael told himself. Don't jump to conclusions. Maybe he works at a hospital, maybe he's a butcher, maybe there's a perfectly reasonable explanation. But the way David kept looking over his shoulder, the way his hands shook as he typed on his phone, the way he seemed to be fighting to control his breathing, none of that suggested reasonable explanations. They'd been driving for about 10 minutes, following the GPS route to Pinewood Motel, when David suddenly spoke up. "Can you take a different route?" Michael glanced at the mirror. "The GPS has us on the fastest route to—" "I don't care what the GPS says. Take Highway 17. It's more direct." Michael knew Highway 17. It was more direct, but only if traffic was perfect. This time of night with construction, it would actually add time. But more importantly, Highway 17 meant long stretches of darkness, abandoned areas, places where there were no witnesses. "Sir, I really think the current route is better. Highway 17 has construction and—" "I said take Highway 17. Lean forward." And Michael could see his face in the mirror. The panic had been replaced by something harder, more desperate. "I'm the customer. I'm paying you. Take the goddamn highway." Michael's hands tightened on the steering wheel. Every instinct screamed at him to pull over, to end this ride, to call the police. But then what? He'd get a bad rating for sure, maybe a complaint for refusing service. His account would be deactivated tonight instead of after 3 more rides. Emma's medication would run out. They'd have to stop treatment just when her doctors said she was making progress. But what if Dave had hurt someone? What if that blood belonged to a victim? What if Michael became an accomplice by continuing to drive? The thoughts crashed through my mind like waves, each one pulling me in a different direction. "Sir, I need to follow the GPS route. It's company policy. If you want to file a complaint about that, you can, but I can't deviate from the recommended route without a valid reason." It was a lie. Drivers deviated all the time, but Michael needed to buy time to think. David sat back, and for a moment, there was silence. Then I heard something that made my blood run cold. A sound like a zipper opening. I glanced in the mirror and saw David reaching into the plastic bag. What David pulled from that bag would change everything Michael thought he knew about this night. But before he could see what it was, before he could make sense of anything, David said 5 words that made my entire world tilt. "I know about your daughter."
Michael's foot nearly slammed on the brake. His eyes shot to the rearview mirror, meeting David's gaze directly for the first time. "What did you just say?" Michael's voice was barely above a whisper. David pulled his hand out of the bag. No weapon, just a phone. He held it up so Michael could see the screen in the mirror. It was a photo of Emma, his Emma, sitting in her hospital bed smiling despite the IV in her arm. That photo had been taken 3 days ago. Michael had posted it on Facebook with a caption about her strength. Emma Mitchell, 16 years old, diagnosed with acute lymphoblastic leukemia 14 months ago, currently undergoing her 2nd round of intensive chemotherapy at St. Mary's Hospital. Her next treatment is scheduled for Monday. David's voice had changed completely. No more panic, no more desperation, just cold, factual recitation. You are $3,000 short of being able to afford it. Your insurance maxed out 6 months ago. You've been driving for Uber 70 hours a week trying to cover the costs. Michael couldn't breathe. The car swerved slightly and he corrected it, pulling onto the shoulder of the road. He put the car in park and turned around completely, facing David. "Who the hell are you?" Michael's voice shook with a mixture of fear and rage he'd never felt before. "How do you know about my daughter?" David remained calm, almost eerily so. He set his phone down and met Michael's eyes. "I'm going to ask you to do something, Michael. Something that's going to seem wrong. Something that's going to make you think you're making the worst decision of your life, but I need you to trust me." "Trust you? You just threatened my daughter." "I didn't threaten anyone." David's interruption was sharp, but not aggressive. "I stated facts. Facts that someone else, someone very dangerous, also knows. Facts that put Emma in danger if you don't do exactly what I'm about to tell you to do."
Michael's mind reeled. This couldn't be happening. This wasn't real. Things like this didn't happen to people like him. He was nobody. Just a father trying to save his daughter. Just a man trying to survive. I'm calling the police. Michael reached for his phone. If you do that, Emma dies. Michael froze. David continued, his voice steady. In your glove compartment, there's an envelope. Check it now. With trembling hands, Michael opened the glove compartment. Among the registration papers and old receipts was an envelope he'd never seen before, a manila envelope, sealed. His name was written on it in block letters. Open it, David instructed. Michael tore open the envelope. Inside were photos. The first one made a stomach drop. It was Emma, taken through her hospital room window. Someone had been watching her. The second photo showed Michael's apartment building. The third showed Emma's school taken before she had gotten too sick to attend. Beneath the photos was a note, printed in the same block letters. Do exactly what David tells you. Any deviation, any police involvement, any attempt to run, and Emma's treatment gets permanently interrupted. You have something we need. Deliver it and Emma gets every dollar she needs for her treatment, plus you get to keep your life. Fail, and you both lose everything. Michael's hand shook so violently he nearly dropped the photos. What do you people want from me? I don't have anything. I'm nobody. You're not nobody, Michael. You're exactly who we need. You're desperate, you're under pressure, and most importantly, you're about to be invisible. Your Uber account is about to be deactivated. After tonight, you disappear from their system. No tracking, no record of where you went, no algorithm following your movements. You become a ghost. I don't understand any of this. You don't need to understand, you just need to drive. David picked up the plastic bag again. In this bag is a medical transport container. Inside that container is something very valuable that needs to get from point A to point B without anyone knowing it moved. No paper trail, no official records, just a desperate Uber driver on his last night giving one last ride. Michael stared at the bag. What's in the container? Something that will save a lot of lives, including your daughter's. That's not an answer. It's the only answer you're getting. David's voice hardened. Here's what you need to know. We chose you carefully, Michael. We've been watching you for 3 weeks. We know you're honest to a fault. We know you follow rules. We know you'd never willingly break the law. That's exactly why this works, because no one would ever suspect you. The bad ratings? The complaints? We needed your account on the edge of the activation. We needed you desperate enough to take any ride, ask no questions, and disappear from the system immediately after. Yes, those complaints were manufactured, all of them. The rage that flooded through Michael was unlike anything he'd ever experienced. You've destroyed my livelihood. You put my daughter's life at risk for what? Some criminal conspiracy? Criminal? David actually laughed, but there was no humor in it. Michael, I'm FBI. What you're carrying is evidence that's going to bring down one of the largest human trafficking operations in the country. That there's a leak in my department, someone who's been tipping off the organization every time we get close. This is the only way to move this evidence without the leak knowing about it. Michael's world tilted again. You're FBI? David pulled out a badge. It looked real, but Michael had no idea how to tell a real FBI badge from a fake one. Special Agent David Chen, Organized Crime Division. And right now, you and I are the only people who can get this evidence to the right hands before the traffickers destroy it and vanish. Then why involve me at all? Why not use FBI resources? Because the leak isn't just in my department, it goes higher. Someone with access to our tracking systems, our communications, our movements. Every time we've moved evidence, it disappears. Witnesses disappear. 3 agents have died in the past 8 months. We need someone completely outside the system. Someone who has reason to vanish from digital tracking tonight anyway. Michael's head spun. And my daughter? The threats? David's expression softened just slightly. Those photos were taken by my team to show you how vulnerable she is. The traffickers don't know about Emma yet, but if this operation fails, if they realize what we're doing, they'll look into everyone involved. They'll find you, they'll find her, and they'll make sure no one can testify against them. But if I help you, if you help me, this evidence gets to a federal prosecutor I trust. The traffickers get arrested in a coordinated raid tomorrow morning. Emma gets an anonymous donation, $50,000 to cover all her medical expenses for the next 2 years. And you get your Uber account reactivated with a 5.0 rating. Michael stared at David, trying to find any sign of deception. How do I know you're telling the truth? How do I know you're really FBI? You don't.
David admitted. You have to make a choice based on incomplete information, just like you've been doing every day since Emma got diagnosed. Do I take this experimental treatment? Do I trust this doctor? Do I work 70 hours a week and barely see my daughter, hoping the money is worth the time I'm losing with her? Life is all incomplete information, Michael. All we can do is make the best decision we can with what we have. Michael was about to agree when his phone rang. Emma's number. At 11:30 p.m., she should be asleep, unless something was wrong, unless this was all a setup, and the real threat was happening right now.
Michael grabbed his phone, his heart hammering. David moved to stop him, then seemed to think better of it and sat back. Emma? Sweetheart, what's wrong? Dad? Emma's voice was thick with sleep. Sorry, I didn't mean to wake you if you were sleeping. I had a nightmare and wanted to hear your voice. Relief and anguish flooded through Michael in equal measure. It's okay, baby. I'm here. I'm working, but I'm here. Tell me about the dream. He watched David in the rearview mirror as Emma talked about her nightmare. Something about being lost in a hospital where all the hallways led nowhere. Michael made soothing sounds, told her she was safe, told her he loved her. The whole time David sat motionless, his face unreadable. Dad? Emma's voice got quieter. Are you okay? You sound stressed. Michael swallowed hard. His daughter, even sick, even scared, was worried about him. I'm fine, Em. Just tired. Long shift. But knowing you're okay makes everything better. Liar. Emma actually laughed a little. You're terrible at hiding when you're stressed. But it's okay. We're going to be okay, Dad. I can feel it. Something good is about to happen. I don't know why, but I feel like everything's about to change for the better. Michael's eyes burned. If she only knew how right she might be. Or how wrong. I love you so much, Emma. More than anything in this world. I love you too, Dad. Get some rest when you can, okay? I will. Sweet dreams, baby. After he hung up, Michael sat in silence for a long moment. Then he looked at David in the mirror. If you're lying to me, if this is all bullshit and something happens to her because I helped you, I will spend the rest of my life making you pay for it. I don't care if you're FBI or God himself. Nothing is more important to me than Emma. David nodded slowly. I understand. And for what it's worth, I believe you. That's why you're the right person for this, because you have something worth protecting, something worth risking everything for. That kind of motivation makes people reliable in ways that money or ideology never could. Michael took a deep breath. He thought about Emma's words. Something good is about to happen. Maybe she was right. Maybe this was the universe's twisted way of helping them. Or maybe he was about to make the biggest mistake of his life. What do I need to do? David's shoulders relaxed slightly. First, start driving. Take Highway 17 like I originally requested. Second, in about 20 minutes, we're going to be pulled over by a police car. When that happens, you stay calm, you hand over your license and registration, and you say nothing about what's in this bag. We're going to be pulled over? Why? Because the leak I mentioned, they're watching for unusual activity. An Uber driver suddenly changing routes, stopping on the side of the road for an extended conversation, that's unusual. They'll send someone to check it out. When they do, we need to appear completely normal. Just a driver and a passenger having a disagreement about routes. And the bag? The bag stays in the backseat, in plain sight. They're looking for people acting suspicious, trying to hide things. We do the opposite. We act like there's nothing to hide because there isn't. As far as anyone knows, it's just a passenger carrying his belongings. Michael started the car and pulled back onto the road, merging onto Highway 17. The streetlights became fewer and farther between. The construction David had mentioned was evident. Orange cones and barriers narrowed the highway to one lane in several sections. Tell me about the evidence. If I'm risking everything for this, I deserve to know what's really in that bag. David was quiet for a moment. The container holds a hard drive. On that hard drive are financial records, communications, and video evidence of a trafficking operation that's been running for 12 years. Children, mostly. Some as young as 6 years old. Hundreds of them. Sold, abused, destroyed. The evidence traces the operation to 3 state senators, 2 federal judges, and a network of respectable businessmen across 5 states. Michael's hands tightened on the wheel. Jesus Christ. The woman who compiled this evidence, her name was Rebecca Martinez. She was a financial analyst who accidentally stumbled on transactions that didn't make sense. When she dug deeper, she found the whole network. She came to the FBI 6 months ago. We put her in protective custody while we built the case. 2 weeks ago, someone got to her anyway. She's dead. But before she died, she got this hard drive to me. She made me promise I'd see it through, that her death would mean something. And the leak knows you have it? They know someone in my division has evidence. They don't know it's me specifically. But they're watching everyone, trying to figure out who made contact with Rebecca. Every official FBI vehicle is tracked. Every agent's movements are monitored. I can't use any bureau resources without potentially alerting them. That's why I needed you. An Uber driver nobody's watching, someone about to vanish from digital tracking, the perfect courier. And after I deliver this, what happens to me? You go home. You delete your Uber account. Tomorrow you receive a notification that an anonymous donor has paid for Emma's treatment. Next week, you get a call about a job, a real job, with benefits, at a company that's completely legitimate, but is actually an FBI front. You work there, you live your life. And you never speak about this night to anyone. And if something goes wrong, then we both die, probably, and Emma becomes another victim of a system that protects predators instead of children. But that's not going to happen, because you're going to do exactly what I tell you to, when I tell you, and we're going to get through this. Michael drove in silence, processing everything. His whole life had been about following rules, doing the right thing, trusting that the system would work if you just played by the rules. And where had that gotten him? Broke? Desperate? And watching his daughter suffer because he couldn't afford to save her. Maybe it was time to break the rules, if it meant saving Emma, if it meant stopping monsters who hurt children. Red and blue lights flashed in his rearview mirror. "That's them," David said calmly. "Remember, calm, normal, nothing to hide."
Michael pulled over to the shoulder, his heart pounding so hard he could hear it in his ears. The police cruiser pulled up behind them, spotlights illuminating the interior of Michael's car. One officer approached the driver's side. Michael rolled down his window, keeping his hands visible on the steering wheel. "Evening, sir," the officer said. He was young, maybe late 20s, with a military haircut and cold eyes that scanned everything. "License and registration, please." "Of course, officer." Michael reached slowly for his wallet and registration, handing them over. "Was I speeding? I didn't think I was." The officer examined the documents with the flashlight, taking his time. "No, you weren't speeding. We've had reports of suspicious activity in the area. Just doing routine checks. Where are you headed tonight?" "Pinewood Motel," Michael said, keeping his voice steady. "Uber ride. Picked up my passenger on Riverside Avenue." The officer bent down to look past Michael at David in the back seat. "Evening, sir. Can I see your ID?" David pulled out his wallet and handed over a driver's license. Not his FBI credentials, Michael noticed. Just a regular license. The officer examined it, then shone his flashlight around the back seat. The beam landed on the plastic bag. Michael's stomach clenched. "What's in the bag, sir?" David answered before Michael could even think. "Medical supplies. I'm a home health aide. One of my patients needed an emergency delivery. Had to use Uber since my car's in the shop." The officer's eyes narrowed. "Medical supplies? What kind?" "Wound care materials, bandages, antiseptics, that kind of thing. Nothing controlled, if that's what you're asking." "Mind if I take a look?" This was it. Michael's mind raced. If the officer opened that bag, if he found a hard drive instead of medical supplies, everything would fall apart. David would be exposed, the leak would be alerted, Emma would... "Actually, officer, I do mind." David's voice was polite, but firm. "Those supplies are for a patient whose identity is protected by HIPAA. I can't show you patient-related materials without a warrant. I'm sure you understand, privacy laws and all that." The officer's jaw tightened. He straightened up, thinking. I could see him calculating, trying to decide if this was worth pushing. Finally, the officer handed back the IDs and documents. "All right, but I'm going to need to follow you to your destination. Verify that you're actually going where you say you're going." Michael's heart sank. Having a police escort would ruin everything. But David seemed unfazed. "Of course, officer. We've got nothing to hide. Though I should warn you,
Pinewood Motel is about 30 more minutes down this highway. Probably a boring drive for you." The officer studied David's face for a long moment. Then he shook his head. "Just get where you're going, and drive safely." He walked back to his cruiser without another word. Michael waited until the police car pulled away before exhaling. Jesus Christ. That wasn't the leaks guy. That was just the cop doing his job. The real test is still ahead. They were 15 minutes from Pinewood Motel when David's phone rang. He looked at the screen and every trace of color drained from his face. "No, no, no." He answered it, listened for 5 seconds, and said to Michael, "We've been compromised. Take the next exit now."
Telling and preparing this story took us a lot of time. So if you're enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. Michael swerved across 2 lanes, barely making the exit. What happened? David was typing frantically on his phone. The prosecutor I was supposed to meet, the one I trust, just got arrested. Federal charges, completely fabricated but effective. He's in custody, can't receive evidence, and now the leak knows I was planning to meet him tonight. So what do we do? There's a backup plan. There's always a backup plan. David looked up from his phone. But you're not going to like it. I already don't like any of this. We need to get to a television station, Channel 7 News. It's about 20 minutes from here if we take back roads. We deliver the evidence directly to an investigative journalist there, a woman named Sarah Chen. She spent 2 years investigating human trafficking. She's credible, she's got sources, and she's got the platform to make this public before anyone can suppress it. Michael's mind reeled. A TV station? That's your backup plan? Going public is the safest option now. Once the evidence is in the hands of the press, it can't be disappeared. The leak will know within an hour that we've gone off script, so we need to move fast. But there's a problem. Of course there is. Channel 7 isn't on your GPS. If you put it in, the Uber system will log it. The leak has access to Uber's backend. That's how they found you in the first place, by searching for drivers about to be deactivated. If they see your destination change to a new station, they'll know what we're doing. So how do I know where to go? I'll direct you, turn by turn. Stay off the main roads as much as possible. Michael took a series of turns, following David's instructions. They wound through industrial areas and residential neighborhoods, taking a serpentine route that seemed designed to shake off any possible tail. How did they find me in the first place? How do they know to manufacture complaints against my account specifically? David was quiet for a moment. They didn't find you. I did. 3 weeks ago, I was looking for someone with your exact profile. Someone desperate enough to need money, but honest enough to trust with something this important. Someone who would disappear from tracking systems at exactly the right time. Your situation with Emma, your declining Uber rating, your financial desperation, you were perfect. So you caused all of this? The complaints, the low rating, my account being at risk? No, your rating was already at 4.4 when I found you. You were already in danger of deactivation. I just accelerated it. Made sure you'd be desperate enough to take any ride tonight. Made sure your account would deactivate immediately after, making you invisible. Michael felt sick. You manipulated me, played with my daughter's life like it was a chess piece. I'm sorry, David said, and he actually sounded like he meant it. But you need to understand, Emma's life was already at risk, not from me, but from the same system that lets these traffickers operate with impunity, the same system that bankrupts families for getting sick, the same system that grinds down people like you who play by the rules while protecting people who destroy children for profit. I didn't create your desperation, Michael. I just recognized it. That doesn't make it right. No, it doesn't. But it might make it worth it. If we succeed, if this evidence gets out, hundreds of children get justice. Hundreds more don't become victims. And yes, Emma gets her treatment paid for. Not because I'm buying your cooperation, but because someone who risked everything to do the right thing deserves to have something go right for once.
Michael wanted to argue, to rage, to throw David out of the car and drive away from this nightmare. But Emma's face floated in his mind. Her smile, despite the pain. Her courage, despite the fear. Her belief that something good was about to happen. Maybe this was that something good. Even if it came wrapped in lies and manipulation. Even if it cost him everything. Turn left at the next light, then right after 3 blocks. They drove in tense silence, winding through increasingly empty streets. It was past midnight now. The city felt hollow, like a stage set after the actors had gone home. Michael's phone buzzed. A text message. From a number he didn't recognize. "Stop the car, Michael. If you continue to the news station, Emma's treatment stops permanently. You have one chance to choose, your daughter's life or a stranger's crusade." Michael's blood went cold. He showed David the phone. He read it and cursed. They tracked us anyway. They must have more access than I thought. How did they know we're going to a news station? Process of elimination. They know the prosecutor plan failed. They know I'd have backup options. A news station is the logical move. But they're bluffing. They don't know about Emma. They couldn't. That's me threatening you. Remember? Those photos, that envelope? That was my insurance to make sure you'd cooperate. Are you sure? Are you absolutely sure? David's certainty faltered. I was sure. But if they have access to my investigation, if they know more than I thought... Michael's phone buzzed again. Another message. This one was a photo. Emma's hospital room. Taken from inside. Recent. The timestamp in the corner said 12:17 a.m., 4 minutes ago. Oh, God. Michael's hands started shaking. They're in her room. They're with her right now. Another message. Final warning. Turn around, deliver the evidence to the address we text you in 2 minutes, or we deliver something else to Emma's IV bag. David grabbed the phone, his face twisted with anguish and rage. No, they wouldn't. They can't. There are cameras, nurses, security. You said they have judges in their pocket, senators. You think they can't get to one sick girl in a hospital? Michael's voice broke. This was your plan? Risk my daughter for your evidence? Michael, if we give them this evidence, they destroy it. Rebecca's death means nothing. Hundreds of children stay trapped. The traffickers keep operating, and Emma still doesn't get her treatment because we'll have nothing to bargain with. They'll tie up every avenue. Make sure you can't pay. Make sure she don't. Michael's voice was razor sharp. Don't you dare finish that sentence. Don't you dare use my daughter's name to justify this anymore. His phone buzzed. An address. 30 minutes. Come alone. David Chen stays in the car, or the girl codes. Michael looked at the address. It was in the opposite direction from the news station. A warehouse district, if you remembered right. The kind of place where screams wouldn't be heard. It's a trap, David said. They'll kill you and take the evidence. Emma will still be at risk because you won't be alive to protect her. And if I don't go, they kill Emma right now. They won't. It's a bluff. They need you compliant, not grieving. A dead daughter makes you unpredictable, dangerous. Michael's phone rang. Emma's number. He answered it with shaking hands. Em? It wasn't Emma's voice. It was a woman's voice, professional, cold. Mr. Mitchell, this is Nurse Patterson from St. Mary's. I'm afraid there's been a development with Emma's condition. You need to come to the hospital immediately. What kind of development? Her vitals are showing irregularities. The doctor wants you here before we proceed with any interventions. How quickly can you arrive? Michael's world collapsed. They'd done it. They'd actually hurt Emma. But then Michael heard something in the background of the call. A TV. And on that TV, a voice, Emma's voice, saying something that made everything click into place. Dad always says that when you're stuck, you have to think about what would help the most people, not just yourself.
Michael's breath caught. That wasn't live. That was a recording. He'd recognized that Emma had said that during a video message he'd asked her to record for his birthday 3 months ago, a message she'd made while she was doing a school project on ethics. The call was fake. The nurse was fake. But they'd needed real audio of Emma to make it convincing, so they'd pulled from somewhere public, his Facebook probably. Which meant they didn't have direct access to Emma. They had surveillance, yes, but not access. Not yet. "I understand," Michael said carefully, watching David's face. "I'll be there in 15 minutes. He hung up and looked at David in the mirror. It was fake. The call was fake. They used a recording of Emma. They don't actually have access to her. David's eyes widened. "Are you sure?" "I'm sure. Which means we have a very small window before they figure out a real way to get to her. We need to end this tonight, right now. How far to the news station?" 8 minutes if you speed. Michael pressed the accelerator. "Then we have 8 minutes to figure out how to protect Emma while we do this." David was already dialing his phone. "I'm calling my partner, the only other person I trust completely. She's been working parallel to me, no communication, so the leak couldn't track our connection. She can get to St. Mary's, set up protection around Emma's room before these people realize their bluff failed." "How do you know your partner isn't the leak?" "Because she's my wife, and because her sister was one of the trafficking victims. She killed herself 2 years ago. Sarah, my wife, has more reason than anyone to want these people destroyed." The phone rang twice. A woman's voice answered. "Jen." "It's me. Operation is live. I need you at St. Mary's Hospital immediately. Patient Emma Mitchell, room 407. 16-year-old girl, leukemia treatment. She's the courier's daughter and she's about to become a target. Get there before they do." "I'm 20 minutes out." "You have 10. After that, they'll have people there." "Understood. Going dark until it's done." The call ended. David looked at Michael. "She'll get there. Sarah is the best at what she does. Emma will be safe." "You better be right. Because if anything happens to her, I know. You'll spend your life making me pay. I got that speech already." "But I mean it, Michael. Emma will be protected. Not just tonight, but after. When this goes public, when these people are arrested, there will be retaliation attempts. We'll put Emma in protective custody during the trials if needed. She'll have security. She'll be safe." Michael wanted to believe him. Needed to believe him. He focused on driving, pushing his aging Honda to speeds it hadn't seen in years. The streets blurred past. Every red light felt like a countdown timer. "There's something I need to tell you," David said quietly, "before we get there, before this ends." "What?" "The donation, the $50,000 for Emma's treatment, that's not FBI money. That's my money. Mine and Sarah's. We've been saving for years, to start a foundation in her sister's name, money to help trafficking victims. But when I found you, when I learned about Emma, I realized saving one life in front of us is worth more than a theoretical foundation that might help people someday." My throat tightened. "Why would you do that?" "Because Rebecca Martinez died believing someone would finish what she started. Because Emma deserves to live. Because you deserve to not have to choose between your daughter's life and doing the right thing. And because I'm not a complete bastard, even though I've acted like one tonight. You manipulated me, used my daughter as leverage. I did, and I'll have to live with that. But I also meant every promise I made. The money is real, the job offer is real, Emma's protection is real. You were a means to an end, yes, but you are never expendable. You matter, Michael. Emma matters, and after tonight, you'll both be safe." Michael didn't respond. He couldn't. The emotions churning inside him were too complicated to name, much less articulate. The Channel 7 building came into view. 3 stories of glass and steel, the station's logo illuminated against the night sky. The parking lot was nearly empty at this hour, except for a few cars near the employee entrance. "Park near the back entrance," David instructed. "Sarah Chen, the journalist, not my wife, different Sarah, will be waiting. I called ahead while you were talking to Emma earlier. She knows we're coming. She knows what we have." Michael pulled into a spot near the back door. The moment he put the car in park, his phone buzzed again. Another message from the unknown number. "Last chance. We know where you are. We have people in that building. Walk in with that evidence and Emma dies screaming. We'll make you listen." Michael showed David the phone. "They're bluffing again. They have to be. They can't have people here already. They didn't know we were coming here until minutes ago. Can you be sure? Can you be absolutely sure?" David's silence was answer enough. Michael stared at the building. Somewhere inside was a journalist who could expose everything.
who could save hundreds of children, who could bring justice for Rebecca Martinez and David's sister-in-law and all the other victims. But walking through those doors might cost Emma everything. What if there's another way? Michael said suddenly. What do you mean? You said the leak has access to official FBI channels, to your communications, to tracking systems. What if we use that against them? David leaned forward. I'm listening. They're monitoring your movements, right? Your phone, your communications. What if we give them exactly what they expect to see? Michael's mind raced, pieces clicking together. You go into that building. You deliver the evidence to Sarah Chen, but I don't come with you. I stay in the car. I become the insurance. I don't follow. They threaten to Emma to control me, but what if they think I'm the threat to them instead? What if I make them believe I have something they need more than that hard drive? David's eyes widened. You want to turn yourself into bait. I want to turn myself into a bargaining chip. You deliver the evidence. It gets broadcast. That's irreversible, right? Once it's public, it's public. They can't unring that bell. But they can still try to discredit it, tie it up in courts, claim it's fabricated, unless they have a witness. A courier who can testify that federal agents gave him evidence that he was threatened, that he personally delivered it to the press. My testimony makes their evidence undeniable. They'll kill you to prevent that testimony. Not if they think killing me triggers something worse. Not if they think I have a dead man switch. David stared at him. Do you have a dead man switch? No, but they don't know that. And in the 15 minutes it takes for them to figure that out, Sarah Chen can get this evidence on air. By the time they realize I'm bluffing, the story is everywhere. They lose. This is insane. This whole night is insane. Michael met David's eyes in the mirror. But my daughter told me that something good was about to happen, that everything was about to change. I think this is how we make that true. David was quiet for a long moment. Then he pulled out his phone and typed something. He showed Michael the screen. It was a message to an unknown number. Evidence in play. Courier claims he uploaded backup to cloud with timed release. Kill him or the girl, entire operation goes public in 1 hour. Stand down or lose everything. Send it, Michael said. David hit send. Then he grabbed the plastic bag and opened his door. If this works, you're either a genius or the luckiest man alive. If it doesn't work, I'm sorry. For everything. If it doesn't work, we're both dead anyway. Might as well go down swinging. David actually smiled. Rebecca would have liked you. Then he was gone, moving quickly toward the building's back entrance. Michael sat alone in his car watching the door close behind David. His phone immediately buzzed. Another message. You're lying. You don't have any backup. We traced your accounts. No cloud uploads, no scheduled releases, nothing. Michael's hands shook as he typed his response. Check again in 15 minutes. By then, it won't matter.
He waited. Seconds felt like hours. His phone rang. Unknown number. He answered. Hello? The voice on the other end was male, older, with an accent Michael couldn't place. Mr. Mitchell, you're making a terrible mistake. Funny, I was thinking I'm finally making the right one. You have no idea what you're involved in. No idea who you're threatening. We have resources you cannot imagine. We have reach you cannot comprehend. Your daughter, your friends, your entire life. We can erase it all. Then why are you calling to threaten me? If you're so powerful, why not just act? Michael's voice was steadier than he felt. I'll tell you why. Because you're scared. Because for the first time in 12 years, someone is about to expose you, and there's nothing you can do to stop it. We can stop you. Can you? Are you willing to bet your freedom on it? Because I'm willing to bet my life that I'm not bluffing. That's the difference between us. You're motivated by fear. I'm motivated by love, and love will always be stronger. More silence. Then, what do you want? I want you to leave Emma alone. I want you to leave me alone. I want you to accept that you lost. Turn yourself in, face justice, and maybe some judge will show you mercy you never showed those children. That's not going to happen. Then we both lose, but at least my daughter will know I died trying to do the right thing. What will people remember about you? The call ended. Michael sat in his car, his heart hammering so hard he thought it might break through his ribs. He had no idea if his bluff had worked. No idea if David had reached Sarah Chen. No idea if Emma was safe. All he could do was wait. 5 minutes passed. Then 10. His phone buzzed. A text from David. Evidence delivered. Sarah's team is verifying and preparing broadcast. 20 minutes to air. You beautiful, crazy bastard, it's actually working. Michael closed his eyes, letting relief wash over him. But it wasn't over. Not yet. Another text, different number. Sarah Chen, David's wife. At hospital. Emma secure. 3 men tried to enter her floor. Security has them detained. Police en route. She's safe. Michael's eyes burned. She was safe. Emma was safe. A newsvan pulled into the parking lot, followed by 2 police cars, then more vehicles, unmarked sedans that Michael recognized as federal. FBI must have been scrambled once David contacted Sarah Chen. The leak couldn't stop the entire bureau, only manipulate parts of it. David emerged from the building, surrounded by federal agents and uniformed officers. He walked to Michael's car and opened the door. It's done. Sarah Chen is broadcasting in 15 minutes. The evidence is verified. Every major news network is picking up the story. The arrests are happening now. Coordinated raids across 5 states. David extended his hand. You did it, Michael. We did it. Michael shook his hand, then broke down. The stress, the fear, the impossible weight of the night crashed over him all at once. David put a hand on his shoulder and just let him cry. When Michael could breathe again, he asked, Emma. Safe. My wife has a protective detail with her. Nobody's getting near her. And Michael, the arrests included 2 people inside St. Mary's, a nurse and a maintenance worker, both on the trafficking network's payroll. If we hadn't acted tonight, if you'd gone home, they would have had access to Emma by morning. You didn't just save those children in the evidence, you saved your daughter.
3 days later, Michael sat in Emma's hospital room, watching her sleep peacefully. The medication drip that hung beside her bed was fully stocked, paid for by an anonymous donation that arrived the morning after the news broke. $50,000, just as David had promised. The room had changed in subtle ways. There was security now, discreet but present. And there was something else. Hope. For the first time since Emma's diagnosis, Michael felt actual hope that they would make it through this. His phone buzzed. A news alert. The 7th one today. The story had exploded beyond anything Michael had imagined. The Riverside Network, they were calling it, after the wealthy neighborhood where it all began. 17 arrests so far, including 2 senators, a federal judge, and multiple business leaders. The evidence Rebecca Martinez had died for was everywhere, on every news channel, analyzed by every journalist, impossible to suppress or deny. And Michael's role in it was public now, too. Not his name. David had made sure of that, keeping him listed only as an unnamed courier in all official records. But Michael knew. Emma knew. That was enough.
Dad?
Emma's voice was soft, still thick with sleep. Michael moved to her bedside, taking her hand. Hey, sweetheart, how are you feeling? Tired, but good. The new medication seems to be working better. She squeezed his hand. I saw the news about the trafficking ring that got busted. Hundreds of kids saved. It's amazing. Michael's throat tightened. Yeah, it is. Dad? Emma looked at him with eyes too old for her years, eyes that had seen too much pain, understood too much about how fragile life could be. That night you were so stressed, the night I called you and you sounded different. That was the night this happened, wasn't it? You were part of it. Michael wanted to lie, wanted to protect her from knowing how close they'd both come to losing everything. But Emma deserved the truth. She'd been fighting her own battle with courage and honesty. He could do no less. Yes, he said quietly. I was part of it. I had to make some very hard choices that night. Choices that scared me more than anything in my life. But you made the right ones. I don't know if I made the right ones. I just made the ones I could live with. The ones that gave you a chance to keep fighting. That gave those other kids a chance at justice. Emma was quiet for a moment. Then she said,
You told me once that being brave doesn't mean not being scared. It means being scared and doing the right thing anyway. That's what you did. When did you get so wise? I had a good teacher. Emma smiled. Then her expression grew serious. I know about the money, too. The donation that paid for my treatment. That was part of it, wasn't it? It's okay, Dad. I don't need to know all the details. I just need to know one thing. Did anyone get hurt because of us? Did anyone suffer so I could get better? Michael thought about Rebecca Martinez, who died before that night, about David Chen and his wife Sarah, who'd risked everything for justice, about the children who'd been freed from the trafficking network, and about the people who'd been arrested, whose lives were over. Bad people face consequences. Good people took risks to help others, and we ended up caught in the middle trying to do our best. Some people got hurt, but more people got saved. That's all we can hope for sometimes, that our choices help more than they harm. Emma nodded slowly. I think you're a hero, Dad, even if you don't think you are. I'm not a hero, sweetheart. Heroes don't get terrified. Heroes don't think about running away. Heroes don't question every decision. That's exactly what heroes do. The fake heroes in movies aren't scared because they're not real. Real heroes are people who are scared and make mistakes and doubt themselves, but they do the brave thing anyway. You're the realest hero I know. Michael leaned down and kissed her forehead. You're the brave one, Em. You fight every day. You smile when you're in pain. You worry about me when you're the one in a hospital bed. If anyone's a hero, it's you. Then we're both heroes. Deal? Michael laughed despite the tears in his eyes. Deal. There was a knock at the door. David Chen entered, looking more tired than Michael had ever seen him. Behind him was a woman about the same age. Sarah, Michael realized, David's wife. She had kind eyes and an air of barely contained intensity. Hope we're not interrupting. Not at all. Michael stood, shaking both their hands. Emma, these are the people I told you about. Special Agent David Chen and Agent Sarah Chen. Emma's eyes widened. The ones who stopped the traffickers? We all stopped them together, Sarah said gently. Your dad was incredibly brave. We couldn't have done this without him. I know, Emma smiled. He's a hero. David and Sarah exchanged glances. Then David turned to Michael. We need to talk about what comes next. They stepped into the hallway, leaving Emma with a guard posted outside. David pulled out a folder. The trial starts in 6 months. The prosecutors want you to testify. Not required. We have enough evidence without you, but your testimony would make their case unassailable. You'd have to tell the whole story, go through cross-examination, face the defendants in court. Michael took the folder, flipping through legal documents he barely understood. What happens if I say no? Nothing bad. We protect you either way. You get the job I promised. Emma gets her treatment. You both get to live quietly. And if I say yes? Sarah spoke up. If you say yes, you become a target again. These people have resources, connections, allies we haven't found yet. They'll try to discredit you, intimidate you, maybe worse. It'll be dangerous, stressful. It'll put Emma at risk again. But hundreds of children get justice. The traffickers go to prison for life instead of getting reduced sentences through plea deals. And maybe, other people in your situation will see that ordinary people can fight back against extraordinary evil and win. Michael looked through the hospital room window at Emma. She was watching TV, laughing at something. Actually laughing. He hadn't heard her laugh like that in months. I need to think about it. Talk to Emma. Make sure she understands the risks. Of course. David pulled out a business card. Call me when you decide. Whatever you choose, we'll support it. After they left, Michael returned to Emma's room. He muted the TV. They want you to testify, don't they? How did you... I'm 16, not 6. I can figure stuff out. Emma patted the bed beside her. Sit. Let's talk about it. Michael sat, taking her hand again. If I testify, things get complicated again. Dangerous. You'd need protection. We'd both need to be careful. Your life would be disrupted even more than it already has been. But kids would be safer. The bad people would definitely go to jail. Yes. Emma was quiet for a long time. Then she said, "When I was first diagnosed, I was so angry. At the universe, at God, at everything. I kept asking, why me? Why did I have to get sick? Why did my life have to be so hard? Why couldn't I just be a normal kid? Let me finish. I was angry for months, but then I realized something. Maybe it's not about why bad things happen. Maybe it's about what we do when they happen. We can let them destroy us, or we can let them show us who we really are. You and me, Dad, we got a bad hand. But we're playing it as best we can. And now we have a chance to help other people with their bad hands. You're saying I should testify? I'm saying we should testify because I want to be there too, in the courtroom, showing those people that they didn't break us, that families like ours don't give up, that love is stronger than fear." She squeezed his hand. "We're heroes, remember? And heroes don't hide." Michael felt something shift inside him. Emma was right. They'd come too far, risked too much to stop now. Okay, we'll do it. Together." Emma smiled, that brilliant, brave smile that had sustained him through the darkest nights. Together.
6 months later, Michael sat in a federal courtroom, Emma beside him in a wheelchair, her hand in his. Across from them sat 17 defendants, their faces ranging from defiant to terrified. The jury had deliberated for just 4 hours. On the charge of human trafficking, the forewoman read, "We find the defendants guilty." The courtroom erupted. Michael closed his eyes, letting the moment wash over him. It was done. Really, truly done. That night, back in their apartment, a nicer one, paid for by Michael's new job, he and Emma sat on the couch watching the news coverage of the verdict. The Riverside Network has been dismantled, the reporters said, thanks to evidence compiled by Rebecca Martinez and delivered by an unnamed courier who risked everything to ensure justice was served. Today, families across 5 states can sleep knowing their children are safer because of the courage of ordinary people who refuse to look away from evil. Emma looked at her father. "We did that. We actually did that." "We did," Michael confirmed. "Not alone, but we did our part." So what happens now? Michael thought about the future. Emma's treatment continuing successfully, her prognosis improving. His new job at a company that actually valued its employees. The quiet, normal life they'd both dreamed of during the hardest times. Now, Michael said, now we live. We appreciate every day. We remember that ordinary people can do extraordinary things when they have to. We remember that love and courage can defeat fear and evil. And we help other people when we can because we know what it's like to need help. Emma leaned her head on his shoulder. "I like that plan." They sat together in comfortable silence, watching the news cycle move on to other stories, other crises, other dramas. The world kept turning, but for Michael and Emma, something fundamental had changed. They'd learned that the worst nights of our lives can become turning points, that desperation can forge courage, that sometimes the person you're most afraid of becomes an ally, that ordinary people, when pushed to their limits, discover they're capable of extraordinary things. Michael thought about that night, the fear, the uncertainty, the impossible choices. He climbed into his car expecting his last shift as an Uber driver. He ended it as something else entirely. A father who protected his daughter, a courier who'd helped save hundreds of children, a witness who'd helped bring down a network of evil. An ordinary man who'd done something extraordinary, not because he was special, but because when the moment came, when he had to choose between fear and courage, between self-preservation and justice, between the easy path and the right one, he chose right. And in the end, that's all any hero really is. Someone who chooses right when it matters most. Emma fell asleep against his shoulder, her breathing steady and strong. Michael held her close, grateful for every moment, every breath, every tomorrow they almost lost. Outside, the city lights twinkled against the night sky.
Somewhere out there, other people were facing impossible choices. Other families were fighting desperate battles. Other ordinary people were being called to do extraordinary things. And Michael hoped that somehow, some way, they'd find the courage to choose right too. To choose love over fear, to choose action over apathy, to choose to be the heroes their stories needed. Because in the end, we're all just ordinary people, and the world is saved not by superheroes or saints, but by ordinary people who find the courage to do extraordinary things when it matters most. That's what Emma had taught him. That's what that terrible, beautiful, impossible night had taught him. That sometimes the last ride becomes the most important journey of your life. And sometimes the destination you reach isn't the one you planned. It's something far more meaningful than you ever imagined.
Up next, 2 more incredible stories are waiting for you right on your screen. If you enjoyed this one, you won't want to miss these. Just click to watch and don't forget to subscribe.